Welcome to the New York Weightlifting Podcast. I'm James McDermott, joined by Sarah Soto. Sarah, it's been a while, so we have a big summer update show we're going to do
today. Yes, indeed.
It's just been a busy year. You know, there's so much going on. Weightlifting meets, the world, jobs, you know, like you and I have other jobs outside of this. So it's just been very busy first half of the year, which is crazy to say. We're now in the early days of July, which means we're halfway through 2025. And it's going by slow and fast at the same time. And I feel like the second half of the year is going to be just as busy, if not busier. Is that the same for you?
I hope it slows down. I mean, the first half of the year is always pretty crazy. Like, I have two very busy times of year. It's always like that, like late spring is always nuts because it's like Arnold and then Masters Nationals and then like other stuff going on, and then Murder of Crows open for me, and then it's like Nationals happen. So like, yeah, the first half of the year is pretty nuts, and then the next thing now is not really anything until states. Well, I have a Virus Weightlifting Series 2 also at the what is that, Labor Day weekend? Is that what the holiday is? Yeah.
Beginning of
and then states. That will be crazy again, but I have a little reprieve in between there. So
I'm hoping that after states, that means there will be a lull of the schedule and stuff. But then, you know, it's post-state stuff and then prep for 2026. Oh no, it's like just so much stuff to do. And but you know, we do it because we love it.
That's true.
And we're a little crazy, you know, about this weightlifting thing.
Also true.
So let's kind of go back in time a little bit. I don't believe we talked about the Arnold or Masters Nationals on the podcast. We did talk about these meets at the general membership meeting, which on the YouTube channel here, it's not going to show up under the live category, but the recording of the general membership meeting from April is on there. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, double check it. I think I did upload it to Spotify, but it's definitely on YouTube here too. So double check that. But for the Arnold and Masters, I've got some stats at the Arnold, and I know it's the Virus Weightlifting one, but I'm old, so I call it the Arnold.
I mean, it's at the Arnold Sports Festival, so it's allowed. But it's also University Nationals, so it's like it's easier to just say the Arnold, and it's all encompassing.
That's what I mean. Arnold is an umbrella term for all these things: the Virus Weightlifting one and the National University Championships. But we had 16 gold medals at that meet, 15 silver and 13 bronze. That's pretty darn good. That's a big medal haul for New York. So we'll definitely take that. Anything off the top of your head notable from that meet?
Oh man, no.
I mean, big lifts on social media and stuff that I just don't remember.
For sure. I mean, we have the Rogue stage there, which is also like its own completely separate, you know, meet within the meet there. And let's see. I don't think I worked at that stage this year because we needed so many people. We needed bodies at, you know, universities and then also in the ballroom. So I did not make it over there this year. But I'm trying to remember. It seems like so long ago. So now I'm being put on the spot.
10 years ago at the 2025 Arnold. One thing that pops up in the top of my head would be I do know that our very own Michelle Wugin was a comp secretary at that meet. And that was her first time.
There's a shadow. Yeah.
So shout out to her. And she hasn't announced it as far as I know on social media, but she told me, and we're going to announce it on social media today. But she's now a national referee. She passed the practical exam at the National Championships week, which we're going to talk about. And she passed the written exam. So congrats to Michelle.
Congratulations, Michelle.
I mean, who didn't see that coming? We knew that Michelle was going to pass, no problem. But it's funny that moment of uncertainty when like you're taking the test and then you show up to the event, and you got to sit in the chair and you're making calls and you're like, it feels like my life is hanging on every call that I make. I hope I'm getting them all right.
Yeah. She actually had the, I believe I told her this too. She had the second highest. This was the most testing. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we had the most testing candidates we've ever had during an event, a national event. There were 11. There's supposed to be 12. One person didn't make it, but there were 11 testing candidates, which is insane. And all but one, I think, passed. And Michelle had the second highest score percentage-wise out of all of those 11 candidates. So
wow,
big congratulations. Right. Yeah,
awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, a lot of hard work. I know she's been studying, reading, getting practice in the chair, watching videos, all kinds of stuff. So yeah. We're very proud of Michelle, one of our WSO representatives. We'll have to get her on to talk about her whole experience and journey. Yeah. Masters Nationals. So a lot went on there too. 15 gold medals at Masters Nationals, 8 silver and 3 bronze for the New York WSO, and plenty of national champions. We had Lucille Murphy, Matthew Mediator, Brian Zhao, Jennifer Nelson, and Catherine Hetchmanek. Did I say that wrong?
I think it's Hetchmanek. Yes.
Hetchmanek. All right.
Yes. Congratulations. That was a fun meet.
Congratulations to everybody. And before we know it, it'll be Masters Nationals time again. So that what a great start to the year we had. So many, like 31 gold medals between 2 meets. The New York WSO is kicking butt, and we haven't even gotten to all these other meets yet. We're not even done with the year yet. So any other thoughts on these 2 early year meets?
No, they were both really fun. This is actually the first year that I am literally going to every single national event. That is not normal for me. I don't know why it worked out this way, but it is. So it's kind of fun. But I mean, I personally love Masters Nationals because I don't know, that one is like super low key. It's like the complete, sorry, police siren, is the complete opposite in terms of the vibe of the Arnold. The Arnold can get like really serious and like intense, and it's a lot, especially like as a technical official, but certainly as an athlete with the team, you're like running around between, all the different platforms in the venue. Masters Nationals was pretty great. It's like low key. Masters meets are always like, oh, hey, like you're just hanging out with your old friends. It's not like as intense the competition because you're kind of like competing with the same people like year after year. Sometimes like you move up an age bracket and it changes, but I don't know. It's always really fun to see everybody at all of these events. It's like we were just joking in Colorado Springs. It's like summer camp every time where you're like you get to see your friends and you're just like, yay.
I definitely felt the FOMO from those 2 meets and also National Championships week, because like I'm not making it out to any national meets this year. So I'm the complete opposite. But whenever it's happening, I'm like, I wish I was there. Like, you do, even though it's chaotic, like you do like enjoy the, like, we need someone at the weigh-ins, go. And you get up there and then you come back down, you ref your session, you hop on the mic. Like it is fun. So if you're not involved in the fun that we're having, you should totally start volunteering at local meets. And then if you happen to be at a national meet, ask if your assistance is needed. Maybe you didn't sign up in advance, but you'd be surprised on bodies being needed somewhere. So it's always good to at least ask.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, congratulations again to everybody who competed at those meets in the beginning of the year. Congratulations to everybody who's competed in meets in this first 6 months of the year. We had a lot of great local meets. You had the New York City Regional. I had the ADK Regional. Joe Rod and Frank had the CNY and the Hudson Valley Regional. We had Long Island meets. We had the Murder of Crows Open. Yep, the 10-year. So it's just and I'm sure I'm missing some other little local meets that happened during that time. But thank you for everybody who runs meets, gives opportunities for athletes and technical officials as well. We have a crew of people traveling around the states who are also trying to level up as technical officials, and they need meets to go help out. Shout out to Greg Decker from Marley Barbell Club.
Yay!
I feel like we're mentioning Greg every time on the podcast, but I think he's been to every local meet in the state so far. Getting the hours, because you have to have a certain amount of hours.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah, up here. All right, Greg, you got to get down to New York City.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it. It's okay. He was like, he saves it for vacations and things like that, like the actual travel. So he's hoping to come to Daytona, as far as I know, so in December. So that will be his national meet debut.
Ooh, I'm excited. Greg's national debut. So, yeah, I know he's working on that. Jean from Avitas, Fen from Avitas, so there's, and I'm sure there's many others I don't know about that are on this track to trying to level up as TOs. And we greatly appreciate having everybody coming into the meets. I mean, they're working full days. Like Greg at Frank's meet, at my meet, and at Joe's meet worked every session, start to finish. That's 12 sessions right there, pretty much. That's a lot. That's a lot. And he signed up to help at the state championships too. And so is John. I've John for the whole weekend. He's like, all right, the wife and kids aren't coming. I'm yours. And I'm like, all right, got you locked in. Other happenings. We've inducted a lot of deserving individuals to our New York WSO Hall of Fame. Earlier in the year, we announced Joe Triolo and Stan Bailey. And we have a nice article on Stan Bailey floating around out there that USAW reposted. It's on our Instagram page. It's on the New York WSO blog. I'm working on writing a little mini articles on Joe, one for Jerry too, because Jerry was inducted last year. And then I have to write ones on Artie Dreschler and Murray Levin as well, because they were recently inducted into the Hall of Fame. We just have a backlog of people who have been helping New York weightlifting and USA weightlifting for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, their entire lives. And it's about time that we shine some recognition on them, put a spotlight on them, and say thank you, because I don't think you and I would be here doing what we're doing if it weren't for any of these people. And you could draw it even back, like, would that person even be stepping on that platform at XYZ meet had it not been for what someone did back in the 70s? You'd be surprised, especially like someone like Murray Levin. I didn't know a lot about him. He was just a figure on our website, in the Masters wing of the Hall of Fame, or someone you might hear brought up in a story. And that I'm trying to capture these stories, Sarah, because once they're gone, they're gone. And I think it's super important for lifters today and people who joined the sport within the last 10 years or 15 years, which is still, in comparison to these people, very new. To know what they've done.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So I'll give a little sneak peek. Let's talk Murray Levin. I have some notes on Murray Levin. When I read about like the things that he did, I was like, wow, had no idea. And like, this is stuff that affects the entire country. I sent you the notes. Were you surprised and like, whoa, I had no idea that this one guy contributed to all this?
I mean, a lot of it, yes. But I mean, growing up in weightlifting through the New York City area, like I did come up, like my mentors are people like Artie Drexler and Joe Triolo and Jerry Dunn. And, Chris Smith even has and Frankie Mintz, like they always, talk about these things at meets. It's some of the stuff I have not seen written. So I am very appreciative that will now be somewhere for people to find. But I mean, he is kind of like the reason that USA weightlifting is what it is today. So
yeah. And we can pause on Artie for a second. He wrote the Encyclopedia of Weightlifting, which
he did.
Which you can still get on Amazon, or I'm sure if you email him or send him a message, he'll mail you one. He mailed me one, but it's a big, thick book, and it's literally an encyclopedia of weightlifting. And it has a lot of stuff in there on technique, accessory, but also history. And if you go on our website into the Hall of Fame and some of the names you can click, and there's an article, guaranteed the vast majority of them already wrote those articles. And some of them are from the encyclopedia, and others are just things that he wrote maybe for a newsletter or just his website. But he's been a great historian for weightlifting in New York and also just the entire country. So happy to celebrate him. But with Murray, all right, let me read you my notes on Murray, and he served as the chair of USA Weightlifting, the board of directors, longer than anyone else in history, as according to Artie, because Artie sent me these notes. He guided USAW through its transition from an AAU, Amateur Athletic Union committee, to the independent organization we know today. And that's pretty darn huge. And I didn't know that. I've known forever about the AAU, and they're kind of like low key now, but back in the day, they used to be this much bigger organization. And I had no idea that USA Weightlifting was just a committee of it. And now it's the Olympic movement, IOC, national governing body for the entire country. That's pretty darn cool. I had no idea. Yeah. Did you know this beforehand?
I mean, board of directors stuff, you start to learn these things because it's like I had found out that Murray is the reason that USA Weightlifting is when you look into records and things like that, financial records, it's incorporated in New York State, and that is why. So it's like I've learned some of these things, like that sort of aspect of it, just from my time being on the board of directors. But yeah, that's all big stuff.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, USAW is incorporated in New York, just so everyone knows. He launched the weightlifting training center at the Olympic Training Center in the 1970s, which that's no longer around, but he was the one that started that. He casted the deciding vote to organize the first women's nationals. So we just had National Championships week. There was a women's competition all the way down to youth and everyone in between, and then masters. And so Murray was the one that he had the final vote to be like, let's actually do that, because it used to not be a thing. So that's pretty cool. He oversaw the first women's world championships in 1987. He ran the first multi-session world championships in 1978. He helped to start the Masters program in the United States. He personally funded the U.S. travel team during times of financial strain. That's pretty darn nice of him.
Yeah.
I could not do that. He hosted numerous record makers competitions that led to world records being done on U.S. soil. So that's pretty cool thing. Like, that's something that, like, I don't know. I don't really think about that on like where are these world records being done. And it's like, all right, yeah, how many like world records have been done within the confines of our country, whether they be from all around the world. That's something to think about. Yeah. So yeah, that's Murray Levin. That's what we know at the moment. And those are some pretty amazing stats. So we're thankful for his contributions, because look at that. It literally is that you could draw a lot of what we do just all the way back to this guy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. He's still around to this day. According to Artie, Murray is in his 90s, and Artie's reaching out to him to let him know that we're inducting him into the Hall of Fame, and to see if he wants to come to States, or we'll just send him the plaque or something like that. It's kind of funny, just the way people do things old school way. I guess Artie tried to email him, but he didn't get a response back. So he's like, I'm going to write him a letter and then wait to get a letter back, because it's just kind of funny when you're in your 90s, you don't respond to emails, I imagine. I would hope in my 90s I'm not emailing anymore.
Where does he live now?
I don't know. I have no idea. He could.
Artie clearly knows, since he has his address.
Yep. So that's Artie's mission, is to reach out to Murray and let him know. And it's just, this is just part of that initiative that we want to celebrate these people and while they're still with us, So I'm glad we're able to do that, with this group that we got right now. We have a solid group of Hall of Fame inductees. So more to come on that. More to come. Any other thoughts, Sarah, on Hall of Fame peeps or the Hall of Fame?
No, like you said, we're very lucky because a lot of the people in New York are fortunately, did a lot for USA weightlifting in its like infancy of becoming like its own NGB by itself. So we have a lot of history. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Rich history in New York. And we have some new history going on now with our big records update.
Yes.
Yep. So the IWF changed the weight classes earlier this year, or actually at the tail end of last year, they announced it. And then it went into effect, 8 new weight classes on June 1st. Your meet, Murder Crows Open, was the first one to field the new weight classes. And you had some challenges with that because the IWF originally announced a men's 98 kilo weight class. And then mere weeks before your meet, they're like, you know what, actually 94. We'll go down to 94 kilo weight class.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And never mind that my meet was straddling the date. So it was because my meet started on May 31st and ended on the second day was on June 1st. It was because the meet was sanctioned technically for starting in May before those weight classes went into effect. I was not able to offer the choice for new weight classes to people through bars, which was a whole fun challenge. So we had to keep playing the game of like me being like, hey, hopefully everybody reads their emails.
Yeah.
And you look at the final start list and the preliminary start list and you know that I have, because I had to place everybody, I had to guess what weight class everybody wanted to be in based on what they had registered as. It was what a joy.
Boy, yeah, to do that with probably over 100 entries, right? That's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot. Well, we thank you, Sarah, for your hard work during this transition time. And,
yes,
but you did have 3 new records, state records, come from your meet. Holly Crane in the Masters women's category, John Shishido in the Masters men's category, and Adanze Asante.
You got it.
Who was the first person with these new categories to break a record standard. And it's funny because those 3 broke the record standards before we had even announced the new record standards because we ourselves on the back end were still in discussion on what are we going to do? Because USAW had posted national record standards, but we needed to decide, okay, what are we going to adjust them to for the New York WSO? So that took a little bit of discussion. And then after we voted and finalized all that, it's a lot of Excel spreadsheet work to change everything over. And we finally did it. So those 3 set new records just completely blind, which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Some things on these new records. I've got some notes here. The old records were all archived. So if you didn't read it on the website or the newsletter or anything like that, they've all been archived. It's still on that same page. You can find them on a PDF that you can click and download or print. And it just has all the records, so all of the weight classes and age groups are just in one document for the old 2018 to 2025 weight classes. So you can find all of that there. I am slowly going to be working through some of the age groups to see if we have the most updated records in there. And you can still claim a record from those old age groups. If you have proof in bars that you did that lift, let's say men's Masters 35 to 39, 89 kilo weight class. I look at my results in bars and I see that I snatched 150 kilos and the record that's on the website says 145. I can still claim that record. I can fill out the application because you still did the lift. It's just you just never reported it back in the day. We're not doing like a cutoff on you can never report again, and these are the set in stone records. They can still be claimed, and I'm gonna comb through and see if I can find any instances of where a record was not reported because we want the most accurate historical data possible.
Sure.
So that's what's going on with the old records. Same thing for the state championships. Those old records were archived. Going forward at the state championships, whoever finishes the competition in an age group and weight class with the highest snatch, clean and jerk, and total, that's the record for the state meet. So that I think that'll make the competition even spicier now. Like if you're competing with, let's say, 2 other women in your age group and weight class, whoever finishes with the highest snatch, that will be the state championships record for a whole year. You can only break that record at the meet. So not only are people going to be vying for gold medals, but there's serious records on the line on where everyone finishes with that. So I think that'll add a nice added piece of drama to the meet.
For sure. Yeah, I mean,
And
even like nationals this year, it was like the amount of purple banners, going across like the attempt boards and things like that was out of control, just because it's like everything is new right now.
Yep, it's an exciting time, and I'm happy because it's going to make my life to calculate the state championships records post states so much easier. All I have to do is just see who had the highest snatch in whatever instance, and boom, there it is. Versus last year, I had to like look at this spreadsheet,
Yeah.
look at this results. Okay, did someone else lift it earlier? Like it took me forever last time, and then I had a blog post like just miles long on all the records broken. So, but so that's the situation with states. With the new records, so something that's different is you have to exceed a record standard by a kilo in order to claim the record. In the past, you were able to tie it. So let's say let's say the record was 100 kilos for the 65 or the old 89 kilo men's category. It's 100 kilos for snatch. If that was the record standard, if you snatched 100 kilos, you get the record now. But now you have to do 101. You have to exceed it by a kilo. And I asked USAW about this, and because we were just following suit with what they were doing, they were not in line with the IWF policy before, but they are now. And IWF policy is you have to exceed a record by at least a kilo to claim it.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. So for whatever reason, back in 2018, they decided equaling was okay in the United States. But now we're getting more uniform with what the IWF is doing. And the New York WSO decided to do the same. So if you happen to tie a record and you're like, hey, why didn't I get that record? I tied it. No one's name is listed there. You got to beat it by a kilo. So now we know. That's the new policy going forward. And also, you can still do an application, but at the conclusion of each meet that happens in the WSO or nationally, I'm going to comb through the records and see if any were broken so we can be as accurate as possible all the time and avoid the situation that we had with the old ones where, all right, Sara never submitted records application, yet your lifts are 50 kilos above what the record says on the website. Technically, that is the record because they submitted the application, but there is heavier lifts floating around out there. We're trying not to have those instances going on.
Yeah, it makes sense because you can do that now since clean slate. So why not? Yeah.
Yep, clean slate. So it's a little more work, but I'm happy to do it, and especially since our website records have to match the USAW records that they have on file for these meets, because as you know, anyone watching the national championships, records are now integrated into the software system that's being used at the meet. And it's a very cool feature where if you're a lifter from New York, you go to do a lift, it says on the screen that you might be breaking a state record. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah, that's the purple banners I was talking about.
Yep, purple banner.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to have our database as accurate to the USAW meet database as possible. So that's why this extra work is being done to make sure they match. Now, there was a snafu with this year's state championships. I didn't have the USAW documents updated in time. But from what I heard, or what was sent to me today, actually, only one youth record was broken, quote, broken, that wasn't an official thing.
I see.
But once I had the national spreadsheet updated to our WSO record standards, everything should be good to go, as far as I know. So this is still a new thing. It's still a process. A lot of work is going to have to go into making sure that they match at all times. So before national meets, I'll have to double check, I think, every single time just to make sure what they have in there is real. But when in doubt, check the WSO website. That is the gospel. If it doesn't say Sara has the record on the WSO website, it doesn't exist. Like that's where it needs to be. So let's say if you're at nationals, Masters Nationals, and you look to see what the snatch record in your age group and weight class, Sara, and you notice at the national meet it says, let's just say 51 kilos, but on the WSO website it says 52 kilos, more than likely go off the 52 kilos. It's possible there was a James McDermott error somewhere's in there, but it's also possible this was something that was missed and not updated one way or the other. So we have to always default to the WSO website as being the main record holder, and this other thing is kind of a wild card out there. It's possible an error was made. It's possible someone from another WSO accidentally clicked our spreadsheet, started updating their records, and then, oh no, crap, I was on New York. I should have been on Ohio. I'm not saying Ohio would do that, but a lot of people have access to that spreadsheet. So human error is going to happen at some point. That's why it's very important that everyone checks New York website. That's where the actual records are housed. I think that's fair, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, sorry if any disappointment ever happens with this new system. Everybody's doing their best. USAW, me, everyone. So, we'll try to make sure that there are no more instances of that. But I can't guarantee it with technology and spreadsheets. Like, we now have so many places records are being reported. It's a little crazy. And if we start doing this software thing at local meets, it's got to be updated. So like the amount of computer work has now doubled or tripled, Sara. So it's a lot.
I have a question for you though,
Yes.
about this. Is there, just saying, for I don't think we have too many New York local weightlifters that are not kind of in the loop on this, but would you have would you put the document somewhere that people can grab that they could put into OWL CMS if they're using that to have the records? Like, is there some place you were going to put that maybe on the website that can be like, when you update it, you can re-upload it maybe, and then we can grab it so we have the most recent thing?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, we could do that. Right now, I don't even have a spreadsheet. Like, I would have to just download. I was going to use the one that they have on the national one. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming if I just download the New York tab only, or download the whole thing and delete all the other WSOs, that's what I would upload to bars. Okay. So I haven't even tried to do this yet. So you know more than I do. Do you think that would work?
I think so. As long, like I said, it would just be a matter of just making that link available to people, and you could say you can just take this and put this in a template yourself, or I don't know. There's more work for you, James, all the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Just a thought to make it easier for people to be able to follow along with records and things like that. So
yeah, I'm wondering, like it's easy for me and you because we're using the same software, and like I can just send you the spreadsheet and then you send it back to me and stuff. If they're not using the same software, I don't know how this will work.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. You're out of luck. It's OWL CMS or nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, we could definitely cross that bridge when we arrive at it. What else here? Oh, how do we come up with the new record standards? So what we did is we shifted everything over. So the record standards came from New York lifting itself. Like a New York lifter was the one that produced those numbers that are now the standards in a weight class. And what we did was took the men's, for example, the men's 55 kilo weight class records, shifted them up to the new 60 kilo weight class, because the 55 is no more, and the lightest senior men's weight class is 60. So those shifted up, which, funny enough, the 55 kilo men's record standards were record standards that were never broken before. So those will hopefully be actually they have been broken as of last week. They have been broken finally. But that's what we did. We shifted everything over to the next available weight class. And that means some dropped off. Since there were 10 weight classes before and there's 8 now, the 96 kilo weight class shifted over to the 110 men's weight class, and the 102 weight class records shifted over to the 110 plus. And that may seem like not heavy enough until you look at the records and see that it's still a 160 kilo snatch, and it was done by someone in 2000. And this was like, these are still serious records. Like when you get to the heavyweight section, heavyweight men's records, they're all like 150 kilo snatches and 170 or 80 kilo clean and jerks and whatnot. So even with shifting it over from lower weight classes, they're still really legit records. They just came from people from the New York WSO or the Metropolitan LWC back in the day. So that's where the record standards came from. They were just shifted over. And recently we noticed that there were some women's masters categories that didn't have any data at all. In the 65 to 69 age group and the 70 to 74 age group, there was no New York data because this lifter didn't exist, or these lifters didn't exist. So what we did was we recently had another meeting and voted for more record changes. What we did was we took the records from the 60 to 64 kilo masters women, or age group, 60 to 64 age group. We took those records, reduced them by 5%, and then those are now the 65 to 69 record standards. Then we reduced it by another 5%, and those are the 70 to 74 record standards. Just so there's numbers in there, and maybe someone who's not lifting will see this document and be like, well, wait a minute, I train in my CrossFit gym. I'm 68 years old. I can snatch 22 kilos, and it says here the record standard is 20 kilos. Maybe I'll sign up and do a local meet and start getting involved in that. So instead of having it blank, we wanted to have something there that still came from New York lifters and will maybe hopefully produce in the future someone that wants to try to beat them. Because if there's nothing there, then you're like, well, there's nothing there for me. What do I have to beat?
I have a question there, though. Do you guys plan on, if something stays blank for too long, you will start to, like from a certain amount of time, you will start to reduce the standard? I mean, I know USA Weightlifting is doing that because, again, they don't want something blank for forever and an unattainable record. And especially with masters lifters, as you know, the age group goes up, it's like, it would be really unfortunate if like a 66-year-old woman comes in and snatches, 50 kilos and the standard is 52 and she doesn't get a record, even though she is the only 66-year-old woman who has like continued to snatch, on record.
Well, the plan is to do the 5 kilo decrease like USAW is doing. So if there are starting this January, so January 1st, any records standards that have not been broken will reduce by 5 kilos. And in that instance, if you, as long as the record, the weight classes have been live, so since June 1st, if let's say at the state championships, you snatched 98 kilos, the record standard was 100 in an age group. Let's say 79 men, right? It was 100 and you snatched 98. So you didn't break the state record. But in January, it goes down by 5 kilos. Now to 95, your 98 kilo snatch is heavier than that. Now you get the state record. So you just have to wait a couple months to get the state record. Now,
I like that. That's good.
And that does now throw a wrench in the situation of trying to have the most accurate records at all time, because I'm not going to go back and check all of the results from the last year or several years prior. It is now up to the athlete to fill out the application, so that that 98 kilo athlete just has to actually let me know, hey, I think I broke a record. You don't even have to fill out an application. You just text me, hey, I think I broke a record. Can you check the results? And I'll check it. So that does make that part a little harder. going forward once we start doing that. And there also might be instances where maybe it doesn't make sense to reduce the records. So again, if we go back to like the older masters categories, if the record standard is 14 and we go down by 5, now we're at 9. At some point, we're going to go be so low it doesn't make sense anymore, or be beyond the minimum required bar loading. So there might be some categories that we end up not doing this for. And that's a discussion for the WSO to have later on in the year, in the fall. Be like, okay, this was the original plan. Looking at the numbers now, part of the plan no longer makes any sense because our first reduction is going to bring a record standard down to 7. That we, like this isn't going to work, So we'll discuss that. And another thing we're going to discuss later on in the year is the new age category, 30 to 34. And what we talked about this at our last meeting. We want to see what USAW is going to do for the 30 to 34 because it's going to be live at the AO finals with the Masters
Virus weightlifting finals. But yeah, it's only valid for the UMWF meet. It is not a USA weightlifting category. I don't know.
So maybe you can answer this question. Will it be contested at the National Masters Championships because it's now tied into the Worlds? Because all right, let's say if you compete at the Worlds and you're 33 years old and you have this result from there. I mean, it's not a WSO record until we make it one, until we add that category in. But if USAW is not going to do it, then we're trying to decide whether or not we should do it. And pretty much the plan is if USAW does it, then okay, I guess we all are now at the state championships, at our local meets. You can be in this category. But if they don't, then it's not anything I think we're going to worry about. Then it's all right. That's another organization that just happens to be paired with us. There is no 30 to 34 state record to be had because it's not a real thing in USAW. But you see how it gets confusing because it's also happening at the virus. If it was its own separate meet, it wouldn't be as confusing.
It is its own separate meet. It's just, the platforms are going to be in the same room. But I'm saying that that's the way you have to think of it, is it is a separate meet. Like I went to register and frankly, I'm trying to be a little bit more financially responsible this year. But it's like you had the option to register for both virus weightlifting finals and then also the UMWF meet. Like they are two separate meets in bars, or you can register for them separately. The combined one is a little bit of a discount, but it still was like $300 something. Too rich for my blood at this point in time. So I just registered for UMWF World Championships. But yeah, so like just think of it as its own separate.
Is there any talk? And if this is too behind the scenes, you don't have to let us know. Is there any talk that USAW is going to adopt this new Masters? Because USAW has youth age groups that aren't IWF age groups, and in the New York WSO we only have youth, just one category, but we can't just have just masters. It's too crazy with the masters. We have to have all these things. Is there talk on adding this masters age group at all?
I mean, I can say I've heard a little bit of talk about it, but I mean, it's more just in terms of like. And I mean, this is absolutely nothing official. This is just like things I've heard. So it's like not something that anybody should like bank on, but it's, it would be nice to include more people at like our Masters Nationals and stuff like that, like be a little bit more inclusive, because when you look at other sports, like if you look at swimming, I believe if you are 20 or older, it might be 25. But it's a very young age where you are considered a Masters athlete all of a sudden. So we're kind of like late in the game. So it kind of could make sense if we want to be more like reflective of world sports in general. But I don't know that I haven't heard anything like definitively about that going to be a thing. So I wouldn't worry about it for 2025 for sure.
yeah, 2025. And that's why we're gonna wait. We're waiting to see what USAW does. If USAW is like, hey, at Masters Nationals 30 to 34, all the national meets, including the Virus Weightlifting Series 1, I'm assuming that would be the first time they're going to do that. I would imagine, because there's Masters there too. So that'd be weird to do 35 to 39 at that one, but then at Masters Nationals do the new one. So this is all the things we were speculating in our last meeting. So.
Yeah. But nothing to worry about for you in terms of like paperwork or any votes that need to be taken at this point. I don't think so.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we were just thinking, I'm like, well, what in that instance of at the AO finals, someone who did that Masters Worlds in the 34, they're like, well, hey, what about for New York and whatnot? Like how we do in New York, we always think about the what if, like well, what if this situation happens? What if a guy walks into that room wearing a purple hat and a cane, and like what we always do the what if game in New York, because we're always just thinking about all the possible things that could happen,
Yes, so, that is very New York specific.
Yep. Oh, do other WSOs have fun like we do?
I mean, it's just people. That's just people, right? Like people, there's plenty of people who are always, especially in weightlifting, where there are so many of us that are trying to, people are always trying to find the loophole. Like, well, what if this gets exploited? Blah blah blah, things like that. Like that is a very weightlifting minded thing, in my opinion.
The weightlifting minded thing is like, well, what if a guy who is he has a leap year birthday and all this
exactly.
Yeah. What category would he be in, and et cetera? Like, can we go off of his natural age, or do we go off his leap year? It's a whole thing. Is he still a junior, even though
totally be a category? That's really funny.
Yeah, actually, I've never thought about it before. Like, yeah, what if you are a senior by everyday standards, but you're in leap year years, you're still a junior. Can you set a junior record and compete in junior nationals? All right. After this, I'm going to email JP Nicoletta. Let me bother him with this question. And he can
ask
be like,
him
what?
Overall, how many people were born on a leap year within USA weightlifting? I'm sure he can find that pretty easily, and then bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll word it in our typical New York way, like, what if a guy, like, just that's how it always starts. That's fun. So that's it for the records. So they're already I already have calculated all the records that I could find for National Championships week. I'm waiting, though, to post it. I was going to post it today, but of course I can't, because I did notice that the results from National Championships weeks are not in bars yet. And it's the first step. I'm kind of doing this in reverse. I was going off of the USAW results sheet, but I need to verify it in bars before I post anything, just to make sure, all right, there's Sarasota. Here's the class. Here's the best snatch, clean and jerk total. That matches everything. All right, now it is officially a record. So I don't want to announce the records that have been broken until I see them in bars, just in case there was any kind of clerical error anywhere. So waiting on that. But 30 WSO records were done at states. That's as far as I calculated. That's pretty darn good.
Or at nationals, yeah.
At nationals, and also potentially some American records. And if you're inquiring about American records and listening to the podcast, I doubt it. But I'm only going to announce WSO records. Again, American records, awesome. We want to see them. But until USAW announces those, I can't verify any American records, because now I'm doing the job of USAW. Like, I'm not going to say an American record was placed for USAW before they do, because I could be wrong. And now I look like an arse, and now, so it's like, I would rather USAW comes out and like, look at all the American records, and then go on like, ooh, there's the New York ones. and then we celebrate you again. So you're just gonna get celebrated multiple times, but I think that makes sense, is to wait for what USAW says.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Wait
essentially
until they get those certificates in the mail.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. Yep. Because I mean that would stink to announce an American record and then find out like, oh, actually, James, that was the wrong category, or we didn't track it that way, or we had the wrong number in there. They actually didn't set one, So like, and then we got to take it back, like it's better just to wait.
Yep, I agree.
We'll come back to nationals. Just some actually. Well, Sarah, any other records thoughts?
No, it's good stuff. Cool. Like it.
Good stuff.
Keep doing good jobs.
So let's talk state championships coming up.
Mm-hmm.
September 27th and 28th. We are now in regular registration mode. Early bird ended on June 30th, and on July 1st, the regular registration started, and that will end on August 31st, which, fingers crossed, we don't make it that far, because there are only 36 spots left out of 200. So which I might be able to make a preliminary schedule or start list now with this, but I've gotten in this situation before where I start this process of Excel spreadsheets and age groups and everything, and then it, like I need it to just be one final document. Like I shouldn't get ahead of myself, right?
No.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I'm still here.
So we have 36 spots left, and once it sells out, though, we'll be able to get a schedule up pretty darn quickly. The main thing that we'll have to do is, and it's mainly a master's thing, is just confirm, do you want to compete as a master's or a senior athlete? Because you only get medals in the category that you register under. You can dual register, but as far as I'm seeing, and historically, and really last year was the only historical record of it, no one's done it. No one's done the dual registration thing, which, it makes sense. Just stick with one, unless you really want multiple sets of medals. People don't seem to be going for that, but we do have an option on there if you want to. If you did dual register, you lift in the earliest category possible. So let's say, we'll use you as an example. Sarah decides to register as a master and a senior. Well, you don't get to decide when you lift. So Sarah can't just be like, all right, I want to lift with the senior athletes because maybe it's a little more competitive, or I don't want to have to wake up early. I know that session will be later. Nope. Sarah lifts with the masters age groups, because if we do it the other way, we can't give out the medals for your weight class and age group when all the other masters lift. And that's not fair to the entire rest of the competition field, having them wait for you just because you're doing dual. You'll have to wait anyways to see what they do in the senior category. And those senior lifters kind of get a little bit of an advantage over you because they already know what you lifted. There's just no way around it. So, yeah, that's how that works. And when the meet does sell out, another thing, there will be a wait list. So, there'll be information posted. I might already be on the start list, but it'll be announced and posted on how do you get on the wait list. It's just emailing me. I'm not going to use the bars system for that. It's just easier to get the information to come in and then figure out where we can fit them in the competition, So, and we don't do it by first come, first serve. We do it by what is available. Like if we have 45 masters men, and like you can go senior, but can't let anyone back into that 45 masters session. If the meet's full in some categories, we just can't accommodate it. What else? That's really it for state championships. 36 spots left. We're in regular registration. We're going to order barbells, Rogue Pyros, men's and women's bars that are not only going to be the ones used on the competition platforms, but the best teams will be able to take it home. So best men's team takes home the men's bar. Best women's team takes home the women's bar that we get.
Nice.
And we have chalk buckets too. That's one of also the other things. So we have matching Rogue silver bowl standing chalk buckets that we will have matching on each competition platform. So little by little, we're adding equipment like that.
Nice.
And I won't bore everybody on all the electronics stuff that we're doing with like organizing it and stuff like that. Even though it makes me very happy. So, yeah. So that's it for the state championships. We have a lot of volunteer spots signed up for. There's still room to volunteer. So if you're interested in volunteering, shoot me a message. We have limited availability right now on rooming. So, if you work 8+ sessions, then you can get your room paid for by the WSO. If you work 4-ish sessions, then we'll reimburse you the volunteer rate of $119. So that means if you pay $142, I'm going to give you $119 back because that's what the volunteer room rate is that we have. You'll get fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner both days. And if you're not lifting, you'll get a T-shirt. So, yeah, pretty good deal for volunteers. If you're interested, let me know. And loaders get paid $30 per session. I will pay you cash.
Pretty good. I've seen it, yes. I've seen you walk over, make people sign, and get that money.
Yep. You will sign on the dotted line, and I'll give you the money, and then we are done with the transaction, and I don't have to track you down to fill out paperwork afterwards, and then we go the whole reimbursement route through USAW. So this way I know you got paid, and you're happy. You're going home with some cash in hand. So, yep, that's it for I keep wanting to say national championships, New York State Championships. Any other thoughts, Sarah, on the state championships? Any questions? Any things in your mind?
No, I'm looking forward to it. That's all.
Okay, cool. We will no doubt be talking about it again. So our final topic, National Championships Week, which it's been a common thread through the whole conversation here. But
fresh
again,
in my mind, yeah.
30 WSO records waiting to be verified. Michelle tested and passed, national referee. We did have 6 gold medals earned, 11 silvers, 10 bronze, and 2 national championships in the youth category. Finn Early and Elias Horn. I believe Finn is from Warwick Weightlifting Club, and Elias is from Team Western New York. And we are waiting to see on some American records for Elias. So we will see what's going on there. But overall, how was your experience? Any awesome things that you saw? Any cool stories from your time there?
Wow. So many. I don't know. It was great. I really like Colorado Springs is a little bit of a hassle to get to, especially for us coming from New York. It's impossible to get a direct flight, right? So you're always going to have to change planes, or you do like I do, you fly to Denver and then you drive or take a shuttle. So it gets a little bit more expensive, but that venue is amazing. It'll be there again next year. So if the opportunity arises for you to make it out there, I highly recommend it. Hotels were a little more expensive this year than 2 years ago when we had it there last time, but that venue is amazing. It's the Colorado College's hockey arena. And so the seating is just excellent. Like you have great, comfortable seats. It's stadium seating. There are concession stands. There are 3 platforms. The warm-up area is nice and spacious. Weigh-in rooms are nice and easy. It's just the locker rooms that are kind of like in the back underneath all of the stadium seating. So it's pretty nice. There was a little bit of controversy this year, which I totally am very happy to address because it was a big deal and it kind of blew up a little bit early on.
What happened?
So people were being told and making a big deal on social media that athletes were not being allowed to bring their own food into the arena, which of course we know in weightlifting, people get that's we need our food, right? After you need to refuel after you have just weighed in.
Yeah, and you don't want to weigh in and walk out in your shoes and singlet to the sidewalk to eat your sandwich and then walk back in.
Although it was pretty nice weather out there, to be honest with you. I probably, if I had been given the opportunity, I would have. But like, there's a million logistical things that it's not great. But
well, hey, I mean, in that situation, I would advise my athletes and myself to like, well, let's not get upset about it. We have lifting to do. It's just things happen in life. Let's just go outside, eat, and come back in.
Yeah, I mean, like 2 years, there's always something. 2 years ago, it was the training hall was like a messed up situation where it was super crowded. Training hall is always crowded, especially during the youth nationals end of things, because youth athletes bring their families and their friends, and everybody wants to hang out and be a team together and stuff. So it gets a little crowded. I think they only had pound setups and stuff, whatever. That was the whole thing. This
So
year it
people
was
get
the
mad
food
that it's
thing.
crowded, but then if USAW had bouncers at the door and they're like, you can only have one coach or one parent come in, there'd be similar outrage.
Yeah, it's you can't please them all.
Yeah, we have to understand the situation that USAW and their staff is in. You know, like just think about that example right there. What do you want them to do? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to mitigate that a little bit more this year, and I didn't hear any problems about it at all, which is like, wow, how did that problem magically go away this year? I had heard that they had wanted people to sign up ahead of time for the training hall. I don't know that they held people to that, to be honest with you. I have yet to make it to the training hall, because when I go to this event, I am working the entire time. I just plan, and I tell my coach I am not training that week because I have to be sitting in a chair. But anyway, back to the food situation.
Sorry, Kurt.
There's a lot of he knew, he programmed accordingly. he knows me by now. But yeah, so this year the food was a situation, and a lot of people, there were a lot of loud voices on social media getting very upset about the lack of food being brought in. But I can assure you, as soon as that was discovered, which was on day 2 of Youth Nationals, so this is the second day of the entire 9-day meet, Pedro Maloney, who's our events director, and Matt Sicchio, our CEO, they were in talks with the venue staff and about the contract we had signed. And apparently there was some weirdness with the way we were grandfathered in, because of course this contract was not just signed this year, it was signed long ago. It's a ton of different things. Like, the venue was brand new when we first moved in, or when we first came 2 years ago, so things were different. But also there's a third party security situation. So this third party, who has nothing to do with USA Weightlifting and nothing to do with Colorado College staff, was telling people that were coming in, USA Weightlifting says you can't bring food in. Not true. Not true at all.
Yeah.
They were actively fighting it. So that caused a bit of an issue. But I think I want to say by like the end of day 3, they got it fixed. And then I don't know of anybody who had problems after that bringing food in. They just kind of advise you, be reasonable. You want to bring a bag of food in? Cool. Bringing like a cooler in with like a ton of stuff? Maybe not awesome. Because of course they also have concession stands in there, and they would like people to order things from there as well. I know that's not a weightlifter's problem, but anyway, all this to say, that was the big controversy at this event. It got fixed pretty quickly, and yeah, I don't know.
It's so unfortunate that social media is just a venting platform. That's like, you could just talk to someone, or if you really are upset, send an email and then find out what happened. But like, do you expect the USAW board or staff to be on Instagram responding to you and others? I just don't get it. I just don't want to waste that kind of energy, or like put that stress into me. I'd be like, just typing away into the void on Instagram. You know, if I was really upset about it enough, there's people at that meet, find one and talk to them there. You know, like, hey, Sarah, what's going on, or anything like that, instead of doing. I just don't understand.
Admittedly, it was hard to find some people because the staff was like in these meetings to like get this worked out and figured out. So that's maybe why you couldn't find Pedro or something like that. But I don't know. It's just like screaming into the void of social media. Yeah.
Or at least to think that. Like they're in the meetings and stuff like that, to not think that they're not working for you, you know, and that things can go wrong. Yeah. Mistakes happen, you know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't be said enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's always going to be a little something.
Yeah, there's always something. But other than that, it was fantastic. We had a great event. We had some help. Some Canadian friends came to officiate again, so it was nice to see some of them. What else happened?
I was excited to see the first wheelchair athlete. First seated adaptive athlete.
Yeah, for sure.
So did he snatched? I didn't see any videos of the lifts, and I'm very interested to know how this went. Did you see the lifts?
I did not that day. I think I was in a weigh-in at that point during his session. But I mean, I know ahead of time from being on the technical, like being the board liaison to the tech committee, that athlete lifted at a USAW local meet and sent videos of his lifts to Pedro. Pedro brought those lifts, the videos, to the technical committee and said, "Hey, what do you think about, like the standards, that we have for him lifting?" Because we've never had this before, right? Like we've definitely had an adaptive division, but we have not had any like para athletes. How would you say that? I don't know. But yes, we have not had any wheelchair athletes for sure. So that was a very big deal. Pedro did a lot of work on it. The tech committee did a lot of work to like make sure everything was checked off, like from weigh-in all the way to like how he was going to be spotted on the stage. That Pedro got a ramp put in, like the night before. He had a ramp put in so that the wheelchair athlete could get up to the stage. Yeah. And who else do we have? We also had an athlete.
That's great. If like spread the word. If you're in a wheelchair, you can participate in this sport. Like of course, talk to your medical team, find a coach that can take care of you. All these things, but they weighed in this individual. Did they weigh them in their chair? Is that how it was done?
Yes. I can't remember what was ultimately decided. Forgive me, but I mean there was talk of like getting the manufacturers who made the wheelchair, like the weight of the wheelchair, and I can't remember how they actually did it though. I will have to find out more on what was ultimately decided. But yeah, I mean that's the thing about the adaptive division. It's new. We are super open and welcome. If you have questions and want to try to compete and meet that national qualifying total as an adaptive athlete, please, by all means, reach out to USA Weightlifting to the general mailbox, and most likely Pedro will get back to you. But we would love to have you. It's really fun. It's like super cool and exciting.
And it's not limited to seated athletes. If you are if you have one leg, one arm, upper, lower extremity, adaptive athlete, if you are blind, have some kind of a neurological impairment, like it's everybody can participate in weightlifting. So just reach out and see what the standards are and how you would compete.
Yeah, and I mean the easiest way to look is just anything that is covered under the ADA is pretty much the standard right now until future notice, and we get something more. We need more participation, frankly, before we can kind of make those standards. So that's the other thing too. I know people get a little frustrated and they're like, well, that's not a disability or something, but it's at this point we have maybe like maximum of like 6 adaptive athletes at every national meet. So it's until those numbers get larger, it's kind of hard to break all that stuff down.
And people need to understand, like the general population need to understand that like there are things that you can see, but then there are invisible disabilities that you can't see, and you maybe even couldn't even understand until you were in that person's skin, walking, in their shoes, on what it actually means to be disabled with something that like the general population can't see. Well, I don't see a cane, I don't see a chair. I see you have all your fingers and everything. Like, what's the big deal? Well, there's a lot of things that are a big deal that make it that a category is needed. That you're not, competing, that you're competing on a level playing field, and that the sport is accessible to you. And so many sports have these categories and these opportunities. And USAW is trying to provide opportunities to a community and a population that really needs it, like for an outlet that could like save their life. Like me and maybe most general, like all the recreational athletes that are listening to it. Sorry if you don't like that term, like we work full-time jobs, all these things, and we're motivated to exercise and do things. There could be a person in a chair that doesn't have any communication with the outside world. They feel stuck and trapped. They have nothing. They have nothing. You have no idea. Many of us don't even understand what it's like to have nothing. And all of a sudden, there's a sport that you like, oh, I can do something. I can add this value to my life. I feel accomplished. Like, just even that feeling of accomplishment. Like, imagine like when you do a lift in a gym and you don't PR, but it was a high percentage. And you're like, well, it was a bad session. When I was like, yeah, but you still accomplished something that day. There's people out there that don't know that feeling anymore, and they don't have the buddies in the gym or just people to talk to. And it may even be just a social thing. And it could literally save their life. Like having weightlifting as an outlet could save their life. You have no idea. I like working with adaptive athletes in other sports like skeleton and bobsled. I've seen it firsthand, and I've been told the story of like, this has saved my life because I didn't know what we were going to do. Like, so it's very near and dear to my heart, and like, we need to do it. And maybe even if it becomes big enough, our weightlifting community will start to think about people in their lives who like, well, hey, yeah, maybe my friend or my coworker who's in a wheelchair, you can do this too. Like, I didn't know before that you could do this. I never would have thought to invite you to do it, but look at this, look at this video. And then maybe that motivates them to make a change in their life. You have no idea the power that this is going to have. It's a huge, amazing thing.
And just added note, if anybody is not familiar with the qualification process for an adaptive athlete, adaptive for a national meet, there is always a separate entry for adaptive athletes if you want to compete at a national meet in that division. And it is, I believe, 50% of the qualifying total is the minimum. So if you can meet 50% of the minimum total, you will register through that link, and Pedro will take it from there.
Very cool. I'm pumped. I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
So
that was
awesome.
Like Wednesday, so I kind of forget. It's like I'm like, my brain has moved on.
I really want to see it. I got to find out how to find the videos. Because
he was on the Blue platform. I think they're gonna. I don't know if they've uploaded them to USA Weightlifting yet. I don't know. I don't even know if they do that anymore. Do they upload the individual platforms, or is it just the live stream at this point? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. Cool.
I'll have to check into that. But yeah.
Well, amazing week of weightlifting.
Yes. Yeah.
As always. Any other big things that stand out in your head on big events or things that happen?
In general, or I mean, at that event, like I said, just it was good. It was really great to see all of my New York friends. Griffin, always good to see those folks.
Who I think took 7th in the team competition. If I'm remembering correctly.
And I mean, I think they only had, it was like, do they only have 3 athletes on there? So like, that's great, but that's like completely amazing, technically for the team. But the other thing too was like, I got to be on a jury for Mark Marquez's session, which also was with Michael Moe from my team. But Mark did amazing, and he got a silver medal, and he got to stand on the podium, and I got to put medals on him and Hampton Morris, and it was awesome. So congratulations to Mark. That was really fun.
Yep, I saw that. That's awesome. So silver medal. All right, that's a pretty darn good silver when the person taking first is like one of the greatest of all time. Soon to be in America. So pretty darn good to share a podium with him. And I don't know if they were sharing. I would have liked to see that. Now that would be a fun session to be a marshal on, just to be in the back. So there's one of those things, like if you want to see all the action and have one of the best seats in the house, it is a busy job. It's an important job that you need to do very well, but you do get to see all of what's going on in the back room, and then there's typically a TV where you can see what happens on the competition platform. So
yeah, it's the best. And I mean, we also did a pretty good job for senior nationals. For every A session, I think even most of the B sessions, we had technical controllers. So like Mike Choi was our friend Mike Choi was the TC during that session, and that's kind of fun. But I don't know. Overall, it was a pretty great event. It was good vibes with everybody across youth, juniors, and senior nationals all the way through. It was a good time. Hopefully, I mean, and then so now the next one is Texas, Fort Worth in, like I said, Labor Day weekend. Virus Weightlifting Series 2. Still not used to saying that, but there we go.
Me neither. Very cool. Well, congratulations to everybody. You know, all the meets this year, National Championships week. We got a lot of great things going on. States is almost sold out. Hopefully it does very soon. And then we got the Hall of Fame. We got the record stuff. Our scholarship winners, they all went, you know, so congratulations to them. We didn't shout them out on the podcast, but we did at the general membership meeting. So, you know, all of our scholarship stuff is accounted for the year. And yeah, before you know it, we'll be talking about 2026. It's crazy.
Yes, there were people actually at Murder of Crows Open who it's like they're definitely newer to weightlifting. And I was like, hey, and like I could tell their coaches, you know, and it's just like I was like, hey, there are scholarships, you know, but I mean, unfortunately, you have to wait until January. But that's when it's like it's not that far away.
Yeah, plenty of time to plan.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cool. Well, Sarah, any other thoughts on anything we've talked about so far? All these topics. Anything that we missed?
No, that's pretty good, and that's perfect because my battery is going to die,
Well,
which is the way we usually roll.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's everything I have. So, Sarah, thank you for taking the time. We're going to try to get back on for another one relatively soon. Hopefully, we don't get too busy again. But this was a nice update. I do think it'd be fun to get a guest on, and I think Michelle's a great candidate. Talk about her journey to being a national referee. And I'm sure there's some other people we can get on too. We got to get on some of our outstanding winners. Like that was a goal to like try to get all the outstanding athletes and do an interview. And we should get on some of the Hall of Fame peeps as well and interview them. So, all right, we have some podcast work to do. We're working on it. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, we got a little more time now.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Sarah, where can people follow you?
I am Sarah Soto Rep on Instagram, and that's the only place I am other than Blue Sky, but nobody uses that. So
all right, there you go. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I don't even know. You can follow me, James A. McDermott. But more importantly than following me, follow at New York Weightlifting on Instagram. There is a New York Weightlifting fan page on Facebook, so you can look that up. Go to NYWSO.com for blog articles, news, state records, information on the state championships. And if you have any questions about anything New York weightlifting related, you can reach out to me or another one of the WSO reps that you can find on our About page. All of our emails are there. And if you have USA weightlifting inquiries, you can reach out to Sarah. Or even if it's just a New York inquiry, reach out to Sarah. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll reach out to me or one of the other reps. So talk to someone. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Sarah, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
Ending the stream. Oh.